First day of the NFL was you go in and with your rookie mini camp. I'll never forget in Louisiana. Have you guys ever, the humidity of Louisiana, been to New Orleans?
No.
Okay, you guys got to go. Now, come on, Johnny, we got to go. But the humidity is like you can cut it with a knife.
Right.
You know, back then, if you hit Ray Lewis in a certain way, like that was a no-no. Not
Really?
at all. Oh, not at all. The veterans will tell you, like, hey, this is our bread and butter. Don't hit him like that. It's the lowlights in life that create the highlight reel. Because if I wouldn't have gone through those lowlights, whether it's at football, whether it's in financial services, whether it's in life, whether it's in, you know, it could be in a marriage or relationship, you're going to have lowlights. It's part of it. It's what you do when you have those. You got to learn from. Nick Saban says it best, never waste a failure. Learn from your losses. And I've had some. We've had some. But man, I'm in a place now where, you know, again, I'm not where I want to be. Obviously, we're still blowing and going, but I'm in a place now where I have so much to give to the world.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Is everybody ready to go?
Oh, we got
Everyone's-
Rondi back out of retirement. I like it.
Do you know how hard it is to get it? He's done one podcast since he quit.
Well, I didn't quit. There's no. You see how
Yeah,
just did that?
You quit?
Since he quit the podcast,
You walk away.
since he quit the podcast, he's been on it once, and you're the second guy to get him back on the show.
Wait, let's go back to the.
Go ahead.
So you see what he did?
Do you
there?
like the painting behind you?
Do
by
you
the
see
way,
what he did? I love that paint. I want
you're
that
right.
in my
Your
house.
head is right next to some breasts, which is great.
I want this in my basement. Actually, when
Well, you're not taking my painting.
I love that thing. That's beautiful.
She
She
did a
did.
really good
Vic,
job.
what was her name?
Yeah, VL Pop Art. We'll give
She
her
did
a
a
quick
great
shout
job.
out. Yeah.
Great job. Is this my camera over here?
You could look at whichever camera you want.
All right.
Is this me?
All right, Vic.
Okay.
You did a great job.
Yeah, she
I
did.
told you that when I saw her at Eddie's party.
Yeah,
Eddie and Alyssa's party. Sorry,
Right,
they're
still not
getting
getting
married,
paid.
so now they're a couple. There is no more Eddie, and it's Eddie and Alyssa.
correct.
All right, but yeah, let's go back to that comment. Let's open up with that.
We don't
The
have to open up
quitting
with
part.
that. I'm just saying that's
That's
just the
what-
reality.
to
You've
what,
been on the podcast
did you
once.
quit?
Welcome
No.
back. I was welcoming you back to the podcast that's now called the John Rondi Show. So thank you,
Which
for
is
coming
my
back
name.
on.
Thank you.
My
And
father is
I-
back on.
Yeah,
Everybody's
clearly.
excited about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But Rob Robertson got him back on, and we can start by explaining why he's on the show.
Well,
and
look
your
how
relationship
because he's the
between
only
each
guy. Look how big his hands are.
other. He's got gigantic. hands.
He said to me, "My hands are big."
No, he is.
I'm like,
He
your
does.
hands are like
well,
measles.
your hands are big. What do you call that? In scale of your body.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So you asked how we met.
Yeah.
So I remember sales conference at our former place. We both worked at a financial institution, and the top sales guys go to sales conference. And I just remember I would go down to the pool and I see this guy. He always has his shirt off and he's flexing him and his friends. I'm like, who's that guy? Right? And somehow we end up meeting each other. You know, I was down and I said, I'm gonna go do 50 push-ups. I'm gonna go down to the pool and I'm gonna stand right next to the guy. But no, I mean, we really hit it off. Just fundamentally representing that institution, but also representing our families. We got a chance to bring our wives. Our wives hit it off. And Rondi, being a multiple sales conference winner, went back to back to back to back. It's like, man, why don't you come have dinner with us? And for me, being I was fairly new to the organization and being new in that circle, I just believe sometimes when you have access, or I use the word privilege, not saying that's what it is, but he allowed me to come into that circle of friends and of trust.
Yeah.
And then we hit it off, and I just remember our last one. We were at Fountain Blue in Miami, and me and Rondi, let's just go walk across the street. We ended up walking across the street, and there's a yacht that was open. He's like, let's go on that yacht.
Act as if.
Yeah. And man, we end up smoking a cigar, and I mean, literally, we sat there hour and a half, just talking, man, about life, about you and about the family and my family, and I think that was really that was meaningful to me because you got a guy who, he's from Jersey. At that time, I was in Atlanta, and I moved to Florida, but we always stayed connected, and that's. I mean, I loved it about it.
Those are profound opportunities, and I don't take them for granted. I know you don't, and too often people just do. They see things as passing ships, and you go through and you say hi and goodbye, but yeah, to your credit though, I wasn't always. I'm receptive. I love people. I love hanging around. But you had to be a certain kind of guy, right? You had to be secure and thick-skinned to come into our den with Phil and Mike Campanaro and Uncle Rich. I mean, this was a high-profile, high octane type of group.
Yeah.
So you would get chewed up if you kind of by the group that would break your chops. He wasn't going to get chewed up. He was going to stand right in there and be part of it. And it was an easy fit.
Right.
So those times that we had working for the financial institution, those were some great opportunities. And to your point, we just talked to Greg on the phone for a little while, and it's like yesterday, right?
Absolutely. And to see that guy, by the way, I mean, he still looks stoked. I mean, you talk about, a guy who was a leader. I always say this, man. I mean, and I, honestly, I think, when you look at what's going on and whether it's football or, some organizations, man, leadership matters. And Greg was a great leader. I mean, I think you always say you see a guy who has talent and he has this it factor. Well, he had it.
Yeah.
And that's just what I mean. Just his presence on freaking FaceTime just now. I'm like, man, I miss that guy. I miss the camaraderie and all the things that we had going on. So, big shout out, man. I think that's cool.
That's you're so right, because he brings it back to a place where you got to keep yourself in check. You better be ready to share what you're doing and be somewhat specific. Yeah. Because he's going to ask a question. Yeah. That you got to answer. Yeah. Right. He just does that naturally.
That's right. That's right. I remember a time, and there was a job that I wanted, and I interviewed for the job. I thought I'd get the job, and I didn't get the job. And I remember being on a golf course. Greg calls me, and he's like, you know why you didn't get that job, right? And it's like, no, why? And he goes on. I'm not going to get into details about it, but I would just say what I appreciated about Greg was his transparency and authenticity to tell you exactly why you didn't get that job.
Right.
And he says, but be ready. There will be others, but be ready. And so, in football, I mean, I took this to corporate America. It was the 5 Ps, and it always says proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? And so when you prepare properly, you're going to perform. It prevents poor performance. So, that pissed me off that I didn't get the job. So I was like, okay, when the next one comes around, I'm going to be ready. Right. And, and sometimes, man, you just gotta take your licks and keep it kicking,
keep it moving.
Yeah, and so I was pissed in the moment, but at the end of the day, when I look at the opportunity that I did have for the next opportunity in that financial institution, it was better than the first one. So.
There you go. A blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I love watching two grown men still have love for one another. I think that's awesome. Speaks to both your characters, but I want to take a step back and talk through your story. Had a bit of a tough upbringing. Mm-hmm. You mentioned football, but let's talk about what football meant to you, where you played, because it's not just Pop Warner. You played in the NFL, which is a pretty big deal. So if you could take a step back and just share your story from the beginning, that'd be great.
Yeah, guys. I mean, so first of all, Johnny, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm a big component of when people give their time and their presence. And allow me to share my story and be here, man. I really appreciate that. So I'm just, first of all, I'm a kid from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a little Southern flavor. I was born in Baton Rouge. My mother got remarried when I was 5. I ended up moving to Houston, Texas. And listen, I thought as I was growing up, I thought I had a great life, man. Honestly, I had, probably middle class, but I was the only child. And I remember one night, my mom, it was the night before the last day of school. And my mom watching a Rockets game with my stepfather, and she says, go to bed. So I go to bed. Like, it's the night before the last day of school. Like, normally you stay up, right? She says, no, go to bed. What I didn't know was that the school had called her to let her know that I was going to get like this big award on the last day of school. It's like the biggest award you can receive in the school. And she said, she wanted me to be well rested. So I go to bed and I'm upset. Didn't do the normal good night, I love you. I'm 10 years old, had a little attitude. And man, at 2:00 in the morning, I wake up and there she is. I mean, she's there, having a heart attack, massive heart attack, right in front of me. And it was one of those moments where, you like, okay, somebody's getting sick. You think she's going to make it. I mean, my grandmother was there and she called 911. I called 911. Look, I mean, literally it felt like they got there in 30 seconds. As they wheeled her out on the stretcher and, my dad and my stepfather go next door to the neighbors. They didn't let me go to the hospital and go next door. And that time in which I was at my neighbor's house felt like eternity. I mean, it felt like days. And then the doorbell rang and he, came and maybe picked me up, threw me on his back, and we walked back to my house. And I said, Dad, is Mom in the house? And he looked at me, he said, no, son. He said, your mom is dead. And, the magnitude of that moment, I feel it right now. I mean, I'm like, she just told me to go to bed. I'm upset and she's not here. And so that in my life was a defining moment because I had to pivot. I shared with you guys, my grandmother was there. And my grandmother lived in Baton Rouge, but she was there visiting. Guys, I kid you not. I mean, listen to this. I mean, that same day, we were running errands during the day after school. And my mother at the red light asked my grandmother, hey, if something happens to me, are you going to take care of my big head son? Because, I got, and I'm sitting in the back seat and I'm like, why are you guys talking about death? Like, come on, we can talk about many other things. You're talking about death. And my mom was like, hey, we all got to go one day. Then thinking another, but I didn't think it was going to happen that day.
It was that day?
It was that same night. It was the most unbelievable experience, for a 10-year-old. But, I share that moment, because in football we call it sudden change. That was a sudden change in my life. I go from living in Houston, being the only child, to I'm having to now move back to Louisiana because I just told you my grandmother asked my mom asked my grandmother if something happened. So she felt that sense of responsibility, moved me back to Louisiana. And that's where it was tough, Johnny. You talk about tough. So I go from, being the only child. I lived in Texas. I felt like I articulated myself really well. I was smart, academically. I go to Louisiana and in Baton Rouge, depending on the area, the zip code I was from, was brought up in, it was different. And I got teased and people said I talked different. People said that I didn't carry myself like they did. And I'm like, I remember looking down at a guy, looked at his shoes and looked up at him and he's like, you checking me? It's like, checking you? What does that mean? He's like, you look at me like that again. And it was going to be a fight. And I remember a guy named Ricky. I fought that guy every day for almost a week because he was one that he talked about my mom. He talked about that she died. How cruel. People say that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words that will never hurt me. That's a lie, man. I mean, words hurt. And man, I was hurt. I was hurt. I went through it. My grandmother, had a house, and she built a room onto her house for me. And guys, I'm not saying this for anybody to feel sorry for. I'm just telling you my story. It's just one of those things where when she built that house, and we were in financial services, we kind of can process this. It's one of those things where they built the room wrong, Johnny. So imagine you build a room and you build the roof flat. There's no slant. So the water couldn't run off the roof. So it built it flat. So imagine if it was torrential rain, guess where the water's going to settle?
Sure.
Right there. And so it started to develop like if it rained, imagine water running down your walls. Oh. And then a squirrel decided to come live in it was just one of those things where I didn't complain though. because it was my room.
I was gonna say it was all yours.
It was my room. I had to literally open up my door to my room to get a little heat in there because my room was built off of her bedroom. They didn't run any ductwork. It was just like, hey, just build a room.
It's
and
a shed.
That's what it was. and so but I was grateful, man. I was grateful. Lived there, and I say all that to say, guys. I mean, that opportunity made me realize, like, hey, there's a bigger calling, there's a bigger purpose for me. To see my grandmother, do what she did and how she did it. That lady worked. I mean, she worked her ass off. I mean, she was a seamstress. She would, John, you get it, Rondi. She's the reason why I learned sales. She would literally bake these tea cakes and pies, right, and sell them at the church on Sunday. I had to write the announcement to say, hey, Miss Watson has candy and pies in the church center. And so I would have people, hey, put me up 10 pieces of candy and pies and to the side. And so I would sell out literally in 30 minutes. And guys, she was only making like $200, but that was her way of making ends meet. Yeah. So, when I saw how hard she worked and how she worked for me and my family, and it was one of those moments where I said, you know what, in order for me to change my circumstance, I mean, I believe even today, either you're running from something or you're running to something. And I was running from. I wanted to get out of Louisiana. I felt like and listen, this is no slap at the state of Louisiana because I love where I'm from. But we used to have this mindset of, it was like the hold me back state. Like and it was all about exposure, guys. I mean, we didn't have the means to have the exposure and see things differently. That's really what it amounted to. But I would just say to you guys this. My grandmother put me in the first school that was down the street from her house. I happened to play Pop Warner football for the team right down the street, the Howell Park Cougars. And we beat this team that had never been, they were the South Baton Rouge Rams. We beat them. I was on the Pee Wee team, and they had never been beaten. And then the coach for the Rams, I went to a summer camp, and he said, I want you to come to the Rams. I'm not going to the Rams. I played for the Cougars. And every day he would see me, Rams. And I had an aunt who worked at this sports camp, and he talked to her, and they influenced me to go to the Rams. Well, I share that, guys, because, transitioning, moving to Louisiana, I didn't lose a football game until I got to high school. That Pop Warner team that I'm telling you about, and shout out to Coach Malin Brooks, may he rest in peace, he passed away. All the guys that played on that team that were in a skilled position, your running back, quarterback, receiver, all of us made it either to D1 college or to the NFL.
Wow.
No kidding.
Warwick Dunn was on that team. You guys know Warwick Dunn.
Yeah, sure.
Sammy Williams was on that team. Marquise Williams, Kevin Franklin, Van Howes. And those names myself, I know Van, Warwick, myself, and I think one more made it to the NFL. And we used to beat the crap out of people.
Was the culture very football focused?
It was very football focused. It was one of those things where, I'm sharing my story and how I live. So imagine, all of us are on a team and we are running from something. We want to, get out of the situation we're in. Yeah. But we came together with our coach being, we talked about leadership, man. He was an avid leader. He was a no-nonsense guy. He believed in discipline. He believed in teamwork. And he believed in excellence. And if you didn't, and he believed in, you talk about being fearful. Like, I think we were more fearful of him. So we were like, we're going to go kick this team's butt because we didn't want to go deal with him. Right. And so I remember the defining moment of my honestly, of me as a man was we played against that team. Remember, I played for the Cougars. I go to the Rams, and we have to play the Cougars. And I'm like, man, I got to play all my buddies who I just left. And we had a coach who told me, he says, we're going to tear a new Hole and Rob Robertson when we played them, right?
Oh.
And so I was running the ball and I wasn't hitting the hole hard. I was tipping. Coach Choo Choo calls timeout in the middle of the game, and he gives you this look, Rondi. He's like, and you know he's talking to you. I go over to the sideline. He grabs my face mask. Are you scared? And I said, no. He said, why are you tipping? And he shakes my helmet, and when he lets me go, I fall back. You can't do that now.
No,
You know,
that's
How old are you? How
that's
old are you at this
frowned
point?
upon.
I'm 11, 12 years
Yeah,
old.
that's frowned upon.
You do that now. So my grandmother's in the stands, and I have my cousin who was a big component of my life. His nickname, I called him Big Dog, is my cousin. And he said, no, Madeir. We call my grandmother Madeir. He needs this.
Mm.
And guys, I'm telling you, as sure as I'm sitting here, I hadn't been the same athlete. I hadn't been the same person since that day.
Wow.
I'm like, you know what? I didn't want to deal with Coach Chu. So every chance I got the ball, I probably scored 3 touchdowns a game ever since then.
Wow. That's all those youth football coaches out there. That's the technique, man. Rattle the. No. That's how we grew up, though.
Absolutely.
If you didn't get your face mask grabbed and shook and shaken, you probably weren't a real player anyway.
And nowadays, if you do that, you know,
of course not.
Yeah.
Right.
But listen, what works? I think things work differently for different people. It worked for me. I'll tell you, fast forward in life. I know we're still talking about the story, but I have a son who I tried that with, like to intimidate. That didn't work so well for me.
Yeah, I had a son. I tried that with too.
How'd he react to that?
My son was always very talented, fast, and when I tried some of the techniques that worked for me, it didn't work for him. He, and I learned you have to build a bridge, don't build a wall. And so I was building a bridge with my son. I was building a wall with my son, trying to incorporate what worked for me. I needed that. I didn't have my mom.
Right.
And guys, I'm not ashamed to say this, and may he rest in peace. My dad was an alcoholic, so he was just not mature to raise a son. I love my dad, and he was at every game drunk, but he was at every game, and it was one of those moments where my son had his mother and his father, so he had a foundation. He didn't have anything to run from.
When when you say you're running from something, what were you running from?
I was running from the way I was living, man. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you want more. And I just talked about how, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I just talked about how me and Rondi hit it off. I mean, at that financial institution, Rondi and that group was the top echelon of, you wanted to get there, right? And if you get there, you're with the movers and shakers. And the thing that I loved about this guy was he didn't act like I didn't belong. He welcomed me in a space where, it wasn't, oh, hey, I'm turning my nose up at you. Hey, you can't come in this circle. It was like, hey, dude, like, let's, and then we connected even more, like separate from the group, right? And that's what, and so then you have other people that's like, hey, well, maybe he is a good guy. He's, and his wife and things like that. So, in Louisiana, when I say running from, I mean, dude, you don't want to live in a house where water's coming down your walls. You want to be able to live and do things. Man, I laugh and I tell people, my wife, she didn't know this. When we got married, my first time my toes ever hit some sand was on our honeymoon, man.
No way.
We didn't go to the beach. Are you kidding me? Like, you go to the beach? She just didn't have it like that.
Right. How did you know there was more out there, though?
Because I started to see it. See, I think, and for anybody like listening, I think what happens is people tend to get sucked into habits. I'll give you an example. There was a girl who she cooked Thanksgiving for her family, and she would always cook, and she cut the butt of the ham off, and her mom was in the kitchen seeing her cut the butt of the ham. She's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" She says, I seen you do it. And she was like, the grandmother's watching all this play out, and the grandmother says, well, Mom says, why did you? She said, I seen my mom do it. And the grandmother said, well, the reason why I did it is because my pot wasn't big enough. Like, so you think about it, like you get psychologically, you get
Right.
stuck in these habits and norms. And I wanted to break that norm. I wanted to break that chain. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, man. And, you know, when I look at my grandmother, she had to work. She had a high school, I don't even know if she had a high school education. Look at my dad, he had a pretty decent job, but he just had this thing that controlled him. He was not mature to raise me. And so I wanted different. I wanted to help. My inspiration was that lady who took me in and let me live with her, built that room on her house. And I wanted everything about me, I wanted to be a blessing to her.
And that was a constant thought. Like every time you had to go through some hard work or whatever, you're like, I'm doing this for her.
I was doing it for her. I was doing it for myself too, because I knew, listen, my mom, you know, one of the things that she taught me, I'll never forget, man. She asked me to do something, or I had to take a test. I can't remember exactly. So I was taking a test, and I said, she's like, you know, you need to get in there and study. I was like, I can't do it. Like, and she's like, you what? You can't. And she, guys, you remember, I call it lines or standards. You remember, like, the teacher make you write. She made me write, never say what you can't do, like 5,000 times, something crazy. Man, my hand was killing me. So she had built this math, like this mindset that, hey, you can do whatever you put your mind to. She made me, when I come home from school, homework was the first thing I did. You don't go outside until you do your homework, period. Kids would knock on the door, and I'm like, man, I want to be out, sun is shining. Robert can't come out. He has to do his homework. So it was just discipline that I had. And so when I got to Louisiana with my grandmother, you know, that part of it was more so I wanted to make my life better. You know, guys, I don't know if anybody heard of Social Security. There's this thing called Social Security. My mom died. You know, I received a Social Security check. That was it. Like, that's what I had to live off of, man. I mean, and I'm not ashamed to tell you guys, I want to say that check was like $200, $300. Think about a kid, and for 30 days or 30, whatever it is, you have to live off $200 or $300, and your grandmother who's trying to, you know, make ends meet, and she did the very best she could. But I will say this, guys. I mean, I had, you know, just very grateful. I say God activated angels in my life. There were people who came along the way during the journey who saw something in me that wanted to help. And so that's what I would say when I see you and your friends and just your circle, man. You guys hold each other accountable. That's what it's all about, man. Just pulling each other up. And that's what I had, you know, in my life was people that pulled me up and those angels. But it was tough. And so football was my outlet. Football was my way of, hey, I didn't have to deal with what I was dealing with because I'm on the field. It was my sacred ground. I felt like I was very talented. I was big at that time. I played quarterback, believe it or not. I played running back and quarterback, and I was a pretty gifted player where I had a lot of success on the field. And so that really, I think, boosted my confidence, helped me grow. And then, you know, I get into high school, and it was just a great experience from that standpoint, from the sports standpoint. But when I went home, it was still the same thing.
And you went to high school, same in Baton Rouge?
I did. I went to Estruma High School. And if anybody looks up Estruma, that school, if you got out of Estruma, I mean, God knows you made it. I mean, they're like the statistics, if you go to that school, I mean, let me just be clear. You don't really come out of that school. I mean, I would have been a statistic. There's a few people that have come out, but, you know, as I said, we always, you know, I laugh, never let your zip code define who you are. That school has gotten shut down before. It's reopened. And I don't mean, listen, guys, I don't want no one to say I'm talking bad about I'm just talking about this where I came from. I think there's a lot of dreamers at that school. There's a lot of kids that want to come out, but they're in a situation they don't know how. Mm-hmm. So I've gone back. I recently went back for my 30th class reunion and went back and spoke to the guys. My old high school coach happened to be back there coaching. And it was fulfilling moment to go back and talk to those kids. So my goal one day, guys, I want to be able to, I'm saying this number out loud and not trying to, advocate or insinuate anything. But if they need money, I mean, they need impactful. I look at who's Jeff Bezos' wife, ex-wife. She's just giving away money. Mackenzie, I forget her last name.
Yeah,
but she's giving away money to like all these schools.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be blessed to be able to have some coin like that. Where I got to get. They need help, and so that's my aspiration. I want to be able to give back.
Is it getting any better?
No, to be honest.
Was there a racial divide back then?
Yeah. So, again, great question. So when I was in Houston living with my mom, I went to a 99% all white school.
Oh, okay.
And listen, I had racism. I had good friends. It's funny, IG people have found me. My best friend was a white guy, Skipper Fell. Skip still lives in Texas. His mom, Miss Joyce, wanted to adopt me. Man, I mean, you talk about the salt of the earth, that lady. She begged my family to adopt me.
Huh.
And but they brought me back to Louisiana. And you go from 99% all white school to 99.9% all black school when you go to Louisiana. So it was a shift. It was different for me. It was a lot to digest, but I was able to pivot. And it was one of those things then now, Rondi, now you got to be hard. Like you got to at least act like you hard, like because if you didn't, you're gonna have to deal with some people. It was some crazy stories, guys. I can sit here and share with you, but yeah, that divide was different. And so I think that question just made me think about it. That's why I wanted to get out. I didn't want that for my life.
Yeah.
I wanted different. Guys, I remember literally. You remember when Coca-Cola went from glass bottles to plastic?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And they did a demo. And they brought the demo to my high school to show the kids the new plastic bottles.
That's cool.
It was cool until it was Armageddon. They started throwing those bottles across the gymnasium. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And, I remember that day because I'm like, man, what the heck is going on in here? And it was just, all it took was one kid throw one across.
Right.
And it was just like Coca-Cola chaos going on. And so, again, I still have some great friends. Let me be clear. I have great friends. Sharon Rondi, I hit the 50 club, and my wife had some close friends and family come to celebrate. And one of my high school classmates, I always tease her because she beat me by 1/10 of a point to be the salutatorian. Always had pretty good grades, but that's our going joke. She's like, listen, that ship has sailed. You didn't win. Like, stop saying it.
Right.
But we have a great relationship because her husband was a good buddy of mine. And at 40 years old, he passed away, man. He had his 40th birthday, and he had a rare case of renal cancer, and he passed away. But, I talk about all that because, man, there's stories of guys who we don't see, we don't know, they've passed away. And that's what it is, man. When you don't have access, guys want to be able to do more and go places and do things. And there's this frustration when you can't do that and you're stuck in your environment. And that's all I would say is that we have a lot of great people that live in Baton Rouge, live in my zip code that I was brought up. I hope people have more exposure. Having more exposure, you can see things a little differently, and you may want to do things a little differently.
Right. So you were smart, obviously. Did you get recruited solely for football or both?
So believe it or not, man, I was I got recruited for academics. Right. I was and that wasn't that I was the smartest in the room. I always just worked hard, man. My big thing is if I do my homework, because my mom had already built that in. If I do my homework and if I can just go and study and as I said, 5 P's, proper preparation prevents poor performance. If I do that, then guess what? I can perform well. And then on the football field, I told you guys I played running back in the Pop Warner leagues. If Warwick Dunn if he watches this, you can ask him. He'll tell anybody right now. And we're in our 50s now. And the thing that Warwick would tell you that pissed him off as a kid was when I came from the Cougars to the Rams, and they moved me to running back. Warwick was the running back. Warwick at the time couldn't catch very well, and Coach Chu said, if you want to score touchdowns, you're going to have to catch the ball and move in a receiver. Well, unbeknownst to me, until we got into our adult life, he's like, that really Warwick was furious about that. But he had obviously a much better career than I did. And he, has done well. He obviously can catch the ball and just a great guy doing a lot of great things with his foundation. But, those were moments, man, that mattered. I can't say I was always the best on the team, but I just worked hard. And that hard work paid off for me. And so academically, I finished number 3 in my class. So I could go anywhere in the state of Louisiana. And I always wanted to play for the legendary coach Eddie Robinson, who coached at Grambling State University. They play Southern in the Bayou Classic. That's in New Orleans, Louisiana, every year, right around Thanksgiving. That was my vacation, Johnny. My cousin Big Dog, who I told you about, would bring me with him. And I want to give a shout out to that guy because he was, a teenager, a young adult, and he paused his life, man. And that's what I'm saying. Angels just pull me, put his arm around me and show me the ropes and take me out and take me to he snuck me in a nightclub before and, different things like that. I'll never forget, man. We go out of a nightclub and somebody started shooting a gun. He was like, boy, get down. It's like, if something happened to you, I can't go home. He's like, but little things like that. He took care of me, man. And so I just remember, going through what I went through in terms of the recruiting process. And I went on a recruiting trip to Grambling State University. And it was when I went to see the dorms. I told you my room that my grandmother built. Sure. And when I saw the dorms, it was 3 guys a room, and how and this is no shot, no dig at Grambling because that's all they had at the time. They've come a long way, but at that time, I'm like, I can't do it. I ended up, and man, Coach loved the guys. Coach Robinson was a great coach, but I just couldn't do it. And that was my trigger, man. I looked at it. I'm like, man, I'm living this way at home. I didn't want to live that way. I was running from that, right? And so the coach from Northwestern State was watching another kid on film on defense, but I was on offense. And he called my coach and he says, did Rob sign? And they said no. And he said, we want to bring him on an unofficial visit. And I went to Northwestern State. I always wanted to play on turf. And, man, they sold me when I got there. And I asked them I wanted to see the schedule. And they played Southern University. Southern was from Baton Rouge. Right. And I always, I wanted to play against my buddies. And I knew I would be able to come home and play at home. And I signed with Northwestern State academically.
So were you a walk-on?
I walked on. I took my academic scholarship because it paid for my school. I just wanted to make sure I didn't put that burden on my grandmother. And I walked on, and then my high school classmate, he ended up transferring from Southern to Northwestern, and we ended up being roommates. So after my first semester, my GPA went from like 3.8 to like below 3, and my academic scholarship was being taken away, and I had to fall back on my athletic scholarship.
So they gave you one?
Oh yeah.
All right.
But it was just different. I tell all the young people, young leaders out there, hey, keep your grades because your GPA is kind of like a credit score, Rondi.
Of course,
it's easy to go down, hard to bring back up, right?
That's right. That's a great way of putting it. And you say that, and it's a soundbite almost today, right? Keep your grades right. Get grades. They lead the way, and it's profound because you lived that, and without that opportunity, you don't go to Northwestern. You don't have the opportunity to play football and then excel and do the rest of the things that you're still even doing today because of those relationships.
That's right.
Wow. How was your career at Northwestern?
So I played. I played running back, Pop Warner.
Yeah.
Warwick Dunn and I were on that team, undefeated. Then Warwick was 1 year ahead of me, so I was a running back when he left, undefeated. Then we went to middle school, and Warwick was like the quarterback. I was a young guy. They won the championship. He played quarterback. Then I stepped in, played quarterback. We won the championship, undefeated. And then I had to make that decision. Okay, what high school am I going to go to? I told you guys there was a high school right down the street from my grandmother's house. And then there was a high school. It was a private school, Catholic high, that recruited athletes. I was being recruited there, but I couldn't see, again, guys, no exposure. Warwick went there, and I didn't want to keep following in Warwick's footsteps, and it was an all-boys school. I decided to go to, stick and down the street, go to Struma, and my first loss, when I moved back to Louisiana at 10 years old, my first loss in football was against Catholic High. Oh. We were 9-1 my freshman year. And that's when I knew, they just had the facilities. They had all the resources that a Struma just doesn't. And to this day, they don't have it. And when you have resources, when you have facilities, when you have money, quite frankly, you can do things that others don't. So that's my goal. I'm putting it out there. I want to be able to give a Struma enough financial wherewithal to where they can have access to things.
What do you think that number is? Not that you're going to provide it.
It's going to start with a 7-figure number. Yeah. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then you have got to have the kids to think that they can, because right now they don't think they can. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the resources, and it's tough, man. That's just my school, and I'm sure that could be in many different cities, different variations. Yeah. But that's what they're going to need.
But would you think, though, given your background and you running from to get better, how that would affect some of the kids today, the players today, that are afforded the resources and handed things? Because that's one of the challenges that I see contrastingly different between how we grew up playing the same sport. You obviously at a very different level. Mm-hmm. And the way our children grew up playing that sport, right? So I tried the same thing with my son, infusing in him what I was taught, which was the wrong things. Mm-hmm. Coach stepped on your foot, grabbed your face mask. Yeah. That was a good start. Yeah. That's how the conversation started. Yeah. Well, that did not work. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to infuse back in now this money and these resources, do you think that changes some of what their attitude might be? I
think it's a start, because right now they don't have any hope to see it, right? I think if they can see it, then they can believe. I get into this later, but when I got injured in Baltimore, me and Priest Holmes, we used to go to this Life Keto, this instructor, and he's like, literally, guys, he could face the wall, put your feet again, he would push you into the wall to where you were doing the splits. And I couldn't walk. I said, man, you hurt me. He's like, if your mind can conceive it and if your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. I don't think some of those guys down there have conceived that they can do these things, and it's possible.
Okay. All right.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
So Northwestern, you are playing running back at this point.
I went to Northwestern as a athlete. Right. So they wanted me to play. They wanted me to play running back. I had to, they even considered putting me at DB. I ended up at running back my freshman year. And we had an All-American running back, tailback, who was like the man. He ended up going to Arizona. So we had a stable of running backs. At practice one day, Coach Les Johnson says, hey, Robertson, just get in there and run 22 dive. 22, you go through the 2-hole. And I broke a long run at practice. And he says, fiddlesticks, I found my fullback. Freshman, I gained that freshman 15. So I went from 180 to 205, and then I was 215. And then, I just kept getting bigger, stronger, faster. So I left Northwestern at 230.
Holy shit.
And playing fullback. But it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because for me, I told you guys the skills. I played tailback. I played quarterback. I always had a feel, touch the ball. And then I was able to run. I was able to block and catch. So I had a unique strength coming out of the backfield. If I had to go hit the linebacker, I wasn't scared to hit him. And then that same linebacker couldn't keep up with me because I was faster.
Too fast, yeah.
And then I was able to catch very well. So that was my unique skill set. I think that honestly, it was just really cool how it kind of morphed into me playing fullback.
You didn't feel heavy or slow gaining 50 pounds in 4 years?
I didn't. So out of high school, I was 180, 190, and then I went to, like I said, 15 pounds, 205, 210. Then I got another 15. Yeah, I was 230 when I came out, and my playing weight in Baltimore was 238. And I guess one may say I back then, you wear a little neck roll and all that stuff. I wanted to look big. Man, I was so overrated. Man, I wish I wouldn't have wore that stuff because I felt like I was not as elusive,
really?
right? Yeah, but I did it because you want to stay safe and healthy. But yeah, I mean, I ran a 4.58 in the 40 coming out of college. So the combine. Well, we had a pro day, and so I had all the colleges come to my school. I bench pressed 225 28 times, and I ran a 4.58 in the 40. I had a great, and I can catch. So I mean, it was great, man. I wish I didn't run track like consistently.
Right.
Warwick ran track, and you could see the difference between how he picked his feet up, put them down, and I did. And but I mean, I ran track just to stay in shape, but I didn't just compete like I should have.
To learn how to actually run.
That's correct.
What was your diet like in college to gain weight?
a ton of egg omelets and waffles in the calf. I mean, we ate so much, and I used to think bigger was better. At that point, I was getting really big. I had a coach who, and he was a high school coach who coached at my high school. That I would go to his house. He had a gym at his house, and he would invite me over. And this was a coach who moved from Denver to Baton Rouge. Met me in the gym, and he's like, and he tells the story. He's like, man, when I was in college, I came back to to Estruma, and he's like, man, you had all the kids, like, that's Rob Robertson. So he came over to meet me, and he invited me to his home. He, really, when I tell you Coach Bob is his name, I was the strongest I'd ever been in my life because he let me come to his house. He believed in me. I mean, my max was 475 when I was working out with Coach Bob. The bar damn near was bending. I was really strong at that time. And so I was big, I was fast, and then I was able to go into the NFL with that type of mindset that like, hey, I'm ready.
Right.
I was primed and ready.
What was weightlifting program like back then?
In what?
In college.
In college. So we had to, we had our own little, your card and what you had to lift, and we had a program. I think for me, the spring was probably the hardest because we had these mat drills we had to do along with lifting weights, and then we had this testing that we had to do, and so you had to run 1.5 miles. You had to do other and they would keep. I forget the name of that test. So all my Northwestern fellas, man, you guys know what I'm talking about. Anthony Williams, but he kept winning it every year because he was pretty fast. He ran a 4.40, and then he was strong as well. So I always wanted to beat him, by the way, and I never got it because he was strong and fast. But yeah, we had a pretty good regimen.
Okay. Was it every? I'm just so curious of like the progression of what they do now versus back then. Was it like an everyday thing, or did they prioritize recovery?
Not really. Back then, guys, listen. I mean, not at all. Recovery? Are you kidding me? Like, we hit every day, and we didn't. Right now, they got different weights and machines that they use, and bands and different things to help you protect your muscles and your body. We lift free weights. I mean, the old saying was like, we're going to slang the iron, right? It was put the weights on. We wanted to hear it clacking against each other, and that's what it was. Now, and then in addition to that, you talk about like concussions and like, if you were to say, "Oh, my head hurts," like you were, you know what I'm saying,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember hitting. Man, if Jake Michelle is out there listening, I remember hitting Jake Michelle at practice. Man, I mean, we had a drill. It was probably the dumbest drill we could ever do. I mean, it's like, hey, fullback meets the linebacker in the A gap, full speed.
Right.
And I remember that. Like, man, my head, I looked over at Jake because I didn't want to be the one like take my helmet off first, but he rang my bell. And I seen Jake take his helmet off. He was like, man. And I was over there feeling the same thing. And we had a linebacker, Kevin Hughes, who taught me toughness. Kevin Hughes was the toughest linebacker in college that I had ever hit in my life. And I tell you what, I had to grow up fast hitting Kevin Hughes every day. From Mississippi, this guy was just a beast. And he didn't even wear a mouthpiece. I look at him as, you know, they'll say Mike. I knew who I had to block, and he's over there smiling. I'm like, oh, my God, I got to hit this guy. And but he was low center of gravity. But, hey, he brought it every single time, and I tried to bring it too. And we had good competition. It was great times.
You seem all right now.
I'm all right, but I told you I had to have my hip replaced.
Yeah, so
I have a shoulder surgery on Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I always laugh. It's funny. You know, I tell people when I went to Baltimore, I was 6 feet tall. When I left, I was 5'11". I said I had to hit Ray Lewis, so he might have shrunk me a little bit.
Impressed you a little bit. Well, I want to get to that too. So Northwestern obviously went well for you. What were your like credentials or accolades back then?
Man, so I'm all-time, team captain at Northwestern. I'm on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, and people, I'm really ticked off about it. I hadn't gotten in yet. I blocked for 3 1,000-yard rushers at Northwestern. 3, not one, not two, 3. And I still haven't gotten in. You know, they look at, you got to have these illustrious stats. Well, that should be a stat alone. Like, look at the stats.
Exactly.
But I've been on the ballot, and I was I was preseason all conference. I was just a team captain for, I would say, 2 years. I played a lot for my sophomore year. I played special teams my freshman year. Mm-hmm. I had a really great. We won a championship, so we won a Southland Conference in my senior year. My highlight, I would just say, of Northwestern was, let me just tell you this, guys, and let me just tell you. So my senior year, our All-American defensive end, who was my best friend, Robert Daniel, blows his knee out. He's out. One of our linemen, Jay Olive, his wife has a kid, and the kid dies of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. Mm. We had just some distrust in the locker room. You don't want your locker room to turn, but we had like so much adversity we had to overcome. And literally, guys, during the spring, like not spring, like the purple and white game, we're on the sideline. Mm. My freaking apartment is on fire.
You watching it?
No, like people came run, hey, your apartment's on fire. And I'm in the middle of the game, like, what? I go and so I have to move out. Huh. My buddy, my best friend, he blows his ACL. My offensive lineman loses his kid, and we have some bickering going on in the locker room. And I'll just never forget, guys, like that team rallied. We played McNeese State. It was 7-7 at halftime, and we got into a little brawl on the field, like little fight. And we go into halftime. We're like, yeah, everybody like, let's go. The final score was 50-7.
Wow.
They beat us.
Oh.
I mean, when I tell you they kicked our butts, and that was the turning point of our season. We did not lose another game after that.
No kidding.
And we played Stephen F. Austin. You guys may remember a linebacker that played at Stephen F. Austin. And Jeremiah Trotter was his name.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Trotter played for the Eagles. And I'll never forget at halftime.
Doesn't his son play now?
His son plays right now. Right. Yeah.
Same thing. Right?
Yeah. But I'll never forget at halftime, we had an adjustment. I'm thinking about McNeese, right? And our head coach says, we're going to run 42-fold the rest of the game. Robertson, that puts you one-on-one with Trotter. I want to see how tough you are, because he was a grown man in college. And needless to say, my running back, Ronnie Powell, had a great game. He ran over 200 yards. We won the game. we won the championship, and the student body stormed the field, tore the goalpost down. So I can say that I was a part of a championship team and brought a championship to that school, and that was one of my biggest highlights. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get what draft number were you?
I was a free agent.
Oh, you were.
So I went through the draft, and the draft. So I just, at Northwestern, we had a guy named Keith Thibodeau who was our defensive back, and it's so crazy. I remember all these scouts and the names because when somebody plants something in you, you remember it, right? So Chuck Cook was a scout for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was up at our school, at our practice, visiting Keith. He wanted to see Keith practice. But after practice, Chuck Cook came to me and said, "Hey, man, I want to tell you, you had a great practice. Keep doing what you're doing." When Keith was a senior, I was a junior at that time.
Right.
And and when he said that, I was like, if Keith can go, then I can go, right? That planted the seed in my head that I can go. Well, just fast forward to my senior year, I had we won the championship, and I was being wooed, if you will. Jacksonville Jaguars, Tim Mingy was a scout, and he came to my school and talked to me. He's like, "Hey, we got a draft pick in the 6th round." When you go to school like Northwestern, you're just happy to get drafted.
Right.
And so Tim said 6th round. I had doing my pro day, guys. I had, a lot of teams were there, and I had a great pro day. To this day, I remember George Kokanis. He was a scout for the Baltimore Ravens. He was at that workout. Well, Tim was giving me the most attention. So I'm thinking I'm Jacksonville. And then the draft back then, it was very long, man. It was like, right now they only do the 1st round, day 1.
Yeah.
It was long. I watched that draft from the beginning to the end. And I remember when the 6th round came, I thought I was going to get drafted, and they drafted another guy. And they didn't draft me. And so I sat there, and I was just really damn, what's going to happen? And guys, I kid you not, that same grandmother who I told you about, I was at her house. Draft was over. Called Mr. Irrelevant. Draft ends, and she comes over to me and puts her hand on my back. She says, "Baby, it's going to be all right." And I'll never forget, within 5 minutes, swear to God, the phone rang. And it was George Kokinis. And he says, "Hey, Rob Robertson, do you want to be a Raven?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I want to be a Raven." and at that time, Denver had called my agent, Jacksonville, and Baltimore. And when you're a free agent, you can choose, look at the roster, see who was drafted. Well, the Ravens didn't draft a fullback. They brought me in. I was the only fullback, so I felt like a better probability to make the team. And I chose the Ravens. And quite frankly, I couldn't go back on what I told George anyway. I'm like, "Hey, man, I want to be a Raven." And so, that's how I ended up in Baltimore.
And what year was this?
That was in 97, first year, 98. And so I went in. My rookie year was our first year, the new stadium in Baltimore. Back then, it was the PSI Net Stadium. Mm-hmm. So I go in as a rookie. And, man, it's just so much that went into that process. I'm just very grateful because George is still an executive today with the Ravens. Wow. And we just had a reunion a year ago. They brought us all back. And I was able to see George, and I got a picture of me and George, man. And, I mean, he's one of those angels. As I said, during that pro day, I remember George winking his eye at me, but I didn't think anything of it. But he was watching me. And I keep telling my son, and I tell kids, anybody that listen, what are you doing when you don't think people are watching you? And I was out there working hard, and I'm thinking I'm working for Tim, Jacksonville, and lo and behold, I ended up in Baltimore.
All right.
Yeah.
What is your first day in the NFL like?
First day of the NFL was you go in and you are with your rookie. It's rookie minicamp. And so I'll never forget, in Louisiana, have you guys ever felt the humidity of Louisiana? Have you been to New Orleans?
No.
Okay, you guys got to go. Now, come on, Johnny, we got to go. We got to go down to Bourbon Street.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make sure you guys hearing it here first.
That's our wheelhouse. We should be down there.
We got to go. But the humidity is like you could cut it with a knife.
Right.
And when I got to Baltimore, it was not as hot.
That's
so
crispy.
I was like, "Oh, I can do this," right? But again, I told you they didn't bring any fullbacks in, so I was running every rep. Like it was tough, but I had to be mentally tough.
And how was the scheme back then? Because now it's not. It's so different. But was it focused on like an I formation?
We had an I formation,
Yeah.
and so Ted Marchibroda was old school.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh, who's now coaching the San Diego Chargers, he was our quarterback. And
right, yeah.
Jim was there. Eric Zaire, but Jim was. They brought him in from Indianapolis, and the veteran fullback they had was Roosevelt Potts. I don't know if you guys remember Pottsy,
no.
but they brought me in, and so there were 3-4 fullbacks on the roster. I've been one of them, and it was just different, man. It was a lot of hard work downhill, meeting in A gap. But I'll never forget that rookie minicamp was a week, and I had to go back home. Guys, I slept when they boarded the plane. I literally clicked my seatbelt, and I don't remember waking up until we landed. That's how tired I was.
Wow.
But I knew I had a great rookie minicamp, and then when we went back, the rookies have to go to training camp before the veterans, and so I was taking every rep.
Right.
And then when the veterans came in, I go from every rep to 0. And I was pissed because I wanted to get in the game. I wanted to show what I can do. And I'll never forget, Ray Lewis hit Roosevelt Potts and knocked his helmet off. I said, yeah, I better sit over here. I better watch this a little bit more. And the biggest thing was learning the speed of the game.
How much different was it?
It was so much different.
Right.
And in college, you see guys, get hurt, and they just, it was just, for me, being able to be a professional and play at that high level of speed, but play at that high level of speed professionally and not like bang somebody. Like if you hit the quarterback, I mean, you could lose your job. It's
I see what you're saying.
simple.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
you
It's
had
a
to know.
job at this point, yeah.
Go full speed, but know how to react and know how to act.
Right.
Back then, if you hit Ray Lewis in a certain way, like that was a no-no. Not
Really?
at all. Oh, not at all. Like and the veterans will tell you, like, hey, this is our bread and butter. Don't hit him like that. And so
Don't try to make a name for yourself on Ray Lewis type of thing.
Exactly.
So you never got a real good shot on Ray Lewis.
Oh no, we had our time. Trust me, we did. And I remember, a coach saying, "Hey, you're not scared to roll your hips, right?" And go in there. And I mean, listen. At the end of the day, I told you guys where I'm from. It was like it was me or him. Listen, I'm not at all here to say that I just made him look bad. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. This guy is a beast. But I wasn't afraid to go in there and hit him or whomever was in front of me. What I learned from Ray, the beauty of that is I think about God's divine alignment. My locker was next to Ray.
Oh.
So I got a chance every day for 2 years to see how he prepared, how he came to practice, his mindset. And he would just talk to me. And I just was, recently thanking him because we were doing some things together. Just that mindset helped me in corporate America more than he knew. Because that guy, right, wrong, and different, like when he put his cleats on and walked out of that locker room, it was a different face.
Really?
It was different.
Was it like just an intimidating aura he had around him?
Ray had a way to intimidate you before the game started if he wanted. But I knew some of Ray's strengths and weaknesses. I mean, at the end of the day, Baltimore was very strategic around, if you notice, we put big defensive tackles, Saragusa, Larry Webster. We had, different big guys, Nadi, Alohi Nada.
Yeah.
Big guys so that Ray can go do what he does best, and that's sideline to sideline. When Ray can roam and nobody is coming to block him, he's going to eat your lunch.
Who was the defense you were going against at this point?
Man, so our linebackers were Ray Lewis, Peter Boulware, Jamie Sharper. We had Mike McQuarrie, Robert Burnett, Saragusa. Rod Woodson was in the secondary. I mean, we had, those Rod, Ray, and, those are obviously Hall of Fame players. And we had some players, Carnell Brown and Tyrell Peters. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of those names that played behind, Tyrus McLeod. Those guys played. Then we had the rookies, Lionel Dalton and Chartrick Darby. A lot of those guys end up going other places and playing.
Right.
But we had a lot of depth at the D-line position. And so Those guys, Kim Herring played at Penn State. We had some guys that you had to get after it, man, or you get your lunch taken from you.
How active and how like loud was Ray in practice?
Honestly, Ray was not, to me, a very loud guy. He let his loudness was by his impact on the field.
Right.
But he did talk. I laugh at this, and Ray at his locker, the chat, what time is it? We would sit down and like, Bruce, when I say what time, he said, you say game time. And we were doing, then when I left and I got, quite frankly, cut from the Ravens, and I saw the chat and heard the chat, man, I was like, damn, man, I was there, and
You were
so
there for the birth of
I was there for it, man. I was there, part of that team, and they won the Super Bowl. That was tough. That was another, just I'd say, tough moment of my life. But they're being immersed in the NFL, the culture, learning the game. Here's what I learned, guys. It was a business. Right. It's a business, and you have grown men going to work. I was looking at it as a game, right? Like, these men are taking care of their families. I was single. I was just going to play,
right?
And if I had known what I know now, and not to say I didn't approach it that way. I approached the business. I studied my playbook, but at the end of the day, these are guys trying to survive. And I was looking at it, as a game. So when I hurt my knee, I'll never forget. I hurt my knee blocking Carnell Brown, and it wasn't I didn't get hit. It was nothing. I was protecting the quarterback, ran him, quarterback steps in the hole, but I planted and I felt my knee pop. And I'm like, I didn't miss a game in college. I've never been hurt, man. And so that was different, having I still played on it for 2 weeks. I was, trying to play. And then and one thing leads to another one, and you start overcompensating, and you're not your full self. And man, and I always think about, if I had got drafted, though, how would they have taken care of me versus me being a free agent?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, you hear you can't make the club in the tub, and the best ability is availability. You got to be available to have the ability to show. Mm-hmm. And so the difference between me, and I tell anybody, listen, the average guy is 3 years in the NFL. There's 297, think about this stat, guys, 297,000 athletes that compete in college on any level, whether it's Division I, FCB, whether you have, you can go to Ivy League school, whatever it is, right. Division II, 297,000 approximately. There's only 32 teams. So 257 guys get drafted, right? And when you think about that, 0.04% make it to the NFL. And I was a part of that rarefied air. I'm grateful for that. I just think about, if I wouldn't have gotten injured, where, you think about that, man. I do. I really do.
And you still have a great relationship with Ray today, right? You work with his foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny how the world seasons. Ray is, started his Ray of Hope Foundation, and I'm just been blessed to work alongside of him in a capacity of helping out with the foundation. I'm part of the board and helping grow the foundation and do some of the things that he's wanting to do in the community. Listen, Ray had an illustrious career on the field, but off the field, I have aligned with his purpose, and I know we'll talk, about my book, Persevering Through Purpose, but Ray's purpose is now he wants to touch 1 billion minds. Unfortunately, his son, he lost his son to suicide a year or so ago. And, when you hear a guy like Ray say to you, or you hear his purpose, his passion, he told me, he says, man, I would give my life for 30 seconds with my son. And I told you, my son went to, he's at University of Miami, about to graduate. And I remember him saying he wanted to walk away from football. And my son decided, hey, mentally, I'm not there. I'm not in it. And I didn't want, man, quitting is not an option. But when he said mentally, I'm not in it, I couldn't live with myself if I would have forced him to play. And so when I talked to arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. One would argue he's in the top 3, maybe top 1. In my opinion, I think he's the top 1. Say to me, like, I just would 30 seconds with my son. Man, that aligns with my purpose and passion, and I just want to help. And so in any small way I can, Ray was just honored with the Championship of Mentor Award through Mentor. I serve on the board of Mentor, and he was awarded that award alongside of Bill Russell, the late, great Bill Russell, who earned that award in memoriam. His wife accepted the award on his behalf. And, man, Ray gave a drop the mic, like, acceptance speech like none other. And so, man, we're doing some work. He's doing some work. I'm happy to just play my small part. And so, if anybody out there needs us, wants to talk through what that looks like, give me a call. And reach me on IG. I would love to talk about it. So that's what I'm doing, Rondi.
That's cool.
That's real cool.
Did you guys stay connected, or you reconnected after?
Reconnected. Listen, a guy that, man, and I have a few teammates that I always stay connected with. Priest Holmes was my roommate when I was in Baltimore, and Priest and I, like, that's my guy, man. He's like a brother. I laugh, man. I used to. So on Mondays you're off. You go watch the film. You go watch the film. You get your treatment and all that. Tuesdays you're off. It's your off day, but you get paid on Monday. So you get your check. And you're watching film. The first thing, guys, I'm young. I want to do. I go out and go shopping a little bit. I come back, and Priest just always. That guy never went anywhere, right? So I come in the house with my bags. He's like, "Spend it, Rob." That was his thing. Spend it. I do. Why you owe me like that? He's like, and one day he just sat me down. He says, "Don't spend all your money, man." And back then, guys, I don't mind telling people, when I was coming out, our contracts was $158,000, but that was a lot of money back then.
Right, yeah.
And so I was going shopping, but one thing I always do, man, that lady I told you guys about, my grandmother, I would always send her money, make sure I took care of her. And my highlight of my NFL career, we played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I flew my grandmother and my family to the game. Tyrus McLeod, shout out to Tyrus, let me use his Suburban. And I had the Suburban for the weekend, and I took my grandmother to the White House. And back then, it wasn't like it is now. You can get close to the White House. And I got her out of the car, and she looked up and she says, "Wow, God, I thought I'd never see this in my lifetime." That was my highlight, man, because I was able to let her experience that. And then, I was able to pay her house off for her. And so football for me, guys, was I paid my grandmother's house off, and I was able to get my down payment for my first home, which is what, you know all about that. And so that was my starting life. So that was the exposure that I was able to provide for myself, getting out of Louisiana, going to Baltimore. I didn't have a long career, but I played just enough, built a lot of relationships with people that I still have to this day. My 50th, I had Priest come back to, and he flew all the way to come celebrate with Jamie Sharper came. And, that meant a lot to me. Me and Ray, we interact. We talk, every other day or so now because of some of the work we're doing and what he's doing. He's about to get another award in December that we're going to be going, and I'll be a part of with him. And so I'm just happy to as I said, guys, this isn't about me. My plight right now, my life, the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King once said that everybody can't be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service. And I just want to be of service to others. I realize that it ain't about this. And all these kids and people look at the clicks and likes. I mean, this is going to be here. This is part of, we got to do it, right? Sure, But at the end of the day, it's about service to others. And I just want to be of service to others. Like, I truly think that if the world would look at it from a perspective of, hey, John, man, I need your help. Like, I don't think if I really sincerely needed your help, I think you would help me. And it's not about, oh, well, Rob, you're going to get shine and I'm not.
Right.
I just really believe what God has for me is for me. What God has for you, we all have our gifts and talents, right?
Yep.
So if everybody worked together to look at it from that capacity and say, and then, Rondi, you know, we talked about the financial institution. We had those titles. We rented those titles. Right
Sure.
now, those titles are given to somebody else.
Sure.
But guess what we own? We own our character, right? So our character is what we own. That's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm just really trying to be a light that shines, that helps people and leave people better than I find them. That's what I want to do in life. And if I do that, I truly feel like, hey, listen, I'm not trying to get biblical, but there's a book that I read that says, hey, well done, thy good and faithful servant. I just want to serve others. I want to be out helping, doing the right thing. And that's right. The guys, I'm elated to be here. That's why I love, I love what you guys are doing. I've been seeing and watching, Rondi. I call him Rondi. Watching Rondi and watching you guys and Johnny Drinks, and you guys are impacting people too. You guys have like almost 2 million followers. I might be at 2 million now. Is it? I mean, you guys have a lot of followers. I know that. I mean, so that means people are following, watching what you do and the impact you have, and in your shows, and to see father-son connection and kind of how you impact in the community, and that's big.
No, that's a responsibility too, and we do appreciate that. That's well said. It's beautiful.
Did you have this purpose always, or you found this purpose later?
I'll tell you this, in April, so the financial institution, we keep talking about it. A lot of great people were there, and a lot of great people are not there. And you have to pivot. I end up at another institution, and it was during that transition that I'm like, man, I miss the people. Listen, we had a great thing going with great people. I learned a lot about leadership at that institution. I learned a lot about myself. I remember when I first got into financial services, I didn't talk football because people, there are narratives that could get created. Oh, well, he thinks he's better.
He's only here because
football. Right. And I never taught. I wanted people to know, guys, I went back to get my degree. So when you asked me about, going to Baltimore, I played. And then when I got injured, and then Brian Billick came in. I was there with Brian Billick. He brought in a whole new regime. And when I got injured, I had to go back and get my degree. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, that's another story. We got to talk about that if we can. If we can't, no worries. But that's my girl. She's never seen me play.
What?
And she stuck with me during that transition. But I go back to thinking about, I had lacked 12 hours of my degree. I go back to summer school, and while I go back to summer, and I'm in school getting my degree, the Ravens not only decided to go to the Super Bowl, but they decided to win it. And you talk about freaking tough. Oh my gosh, that was the toughest year of my life. Like I didn't want to watch football. I didn't want to do anything, but I persevered through it. So, you asked me my passion and what, every year we all take inventory of what we do, how we do it. And
every year, I feel like it's every day.
Every day. You're right.
I don't think it's every year.
But I'll tell you this. I was in a transition, and, you get these roles and you grow and you ask yourself what happened or why. People hire you to do a job, and you do that job, you do it at a high level, but then oftentimes people have other agendas, and you get caught into the bureaucracy of certain things. As I said, where we were, those people, we're all gone. We're spread out. And when you see the motives of people and you're like, man, like, really? And so I asked God for two things, Johnny. One, I said, hey, just make me useful. I want to be useful. Whatever capacity you want me to be in, make me useful. Two, I want to be of service. And so in these places and spaces I've gone, I've worked at many, a couple of financial institutions, and I work now for one that I happen to really thrive, and it's been great. But I remember in a moment where I had a time I said, listen, we all have that voice of reason that tells you if the fire is hot, don't touch it, right? Or you're like, should I go right or left? You may need to go right. But I want to go left. think you need to go right. You know that voice I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
sure.
And that voice hit me one morning. It was April the 8th, and that voice hit me and said, hey, you're not being obedient. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I've had people tell me that I would be a motivational speaker. I had people tell me I should be a preacher. God hadn't called me to do that, preach. I've been motivational speaking. But then I've had people say to me, you need to tell your story. And what does that look like? You need to write a book. April, that morning, that voice, hey, you're not being obedient. And I'll never forget, I do reading, I read, I work out, and I listen to motivational I listen to books. And guys, it was clear as day, that voice said, you're not being obedient. I said to myself, and I answered back, if I'm meant to write a book, the publisher will call me tomorrow. Guys, as I'm sitting around in your podcast, I swear I'm at Dulles Airport the next morning. I was headed to Pittsburgh because a former player was opening up a facility and they were doing the ribbon cutting. And I was headed there to support. I had gotten the invite. And the publisher called me while I was at the airport. And she said, Rob, are you ready to tell your story and make your dream a reality? And I said, oh, my God. I literally, I almost slid out of the chair. And people were looking at it. I said, you don't have to say another word. And the publisher, Fig Factor, Jacqueline, she says, what? I said, no, you don't get it. You don't have to say another word. It's done. And she says, like, I think she thought she was going to have to sell me on it. And I'm like, it's done. And for that year, I've started writing. And guys, I'll tell you, whether you had a great life or you didn't, when you start to reflect and you start to hit buttons and triggers that affected your life, those first 3 chapters, Johnny, I like telling you, and you'll see as I get older, I think the heart's getting a little more tender. I get emotional and I think about things. And when I start thinking about my life and those first 3 chapters, it was a lot of wet eyes going on, man. I reflected on, I would tell you guys this, and if I get emotional, it's tears of joy. I'm just very, I'm very thankful. I would say that I'm very thankful.
So am I, brother. Really. You brought up the point of never mentioning that you played professional football. I don't think when I met you, I knew that.
Oh.
I think you told me that later on we were smoking a cigar, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
I played for the Ravens.
yeah. And that's because I wanted to prove that I'm where I am because of my hard work. I didn't want no one to think that, hey, well, he got a pass because he played for the Ravens or. Yeah. And Rondi, here's the reality of it, man. The funny part, when I lived in Atlanta, I started my family in Atlanta. I wasn't really involved with the NFL as much, and then I moved to Florida. And it wasn't until I moved back to D.C., and this is the beauty of life and how it comes full circle, was the Baltimore Business Journal got wind that the former institution that I worked for was hiring me as their regional executive. And Rondi knows this. It wasn't a lot of us. Like, in terms of that job, was only, I want to say, 11 regional execs at that level. Maybe a little more, but it wasn't a lot. And for me to earn that job and just talking to, I still call him our fearless leader this morning, man, it meant a lot. It meant a lot because I had people that believed in me. My divisional manager, she believed in me. And I'll never forget, she told me when I was hired, my career is on the line for this. And when I hear that, and it's one of those things where, listen, at the end of the day, and I don't say this to say it lightly, I know who I am and I know who I look like and I know where I came from, right? And there's not a lot of guys that are like me that are in those roles. I'll just leave it there. And so I knew the responsibility
Right.
that I had. And so when I got that job, if you were to cut our region off, we were probably the 6th largest organization in the country at that time. We were churning and burning. These guys were kicking butt, and we were just trying to keep up with the Northeast because they were just like killing it. And then things change. You know, you think about football. I mean, sudden change. Things change, and when I tell you they change fast. And so when I think about how that happened, you know, you gotta be able to evolve and pivot. And so I ended up going to another organization, and you know, when I think about that, that's what I wrote in the book. It was one of those things where, you know, when perseverance, I titled the book "Persevering Through Pain." And it wasn't until my wife, I got the manuscript, and she looked at it. She said, "No, Robert, it hadn't been your pain. It's been your purpose." And so I look at what I've learned through all of this is that even right now, guys, we're still standing. You know, right, wrong, and different. I mean, listen, we all want and aspire for more, but we're still standing. And it's been my purpose. And so I got to just share this one quick story. We talked about the pro day. Remember Tim Mingy and Jacksonville and George Kokinas. There was a scout, or he was the GM, not the GM. He was the pro personnel. His name is John Wooten. John Wooten worked for the Philadelphia Eagles at the time. So after you go do your workout, they want to do film study, but they want to talk to you, interview you, and talk to you. First thing I wanted to do, Rondi, is I wanted to look at me. I put VHS. You even know what a VHS tape?
Yeah.
I had a VHS tape. I put it in the VCR. I wanted to show him my highlights. And John hit eject and just threw the tape back to me. And he says, "Hey, man, we're not here to see your highlights. We know you can play. That's why we're here."
Right.
He said to me, "What are your lowlights?" And guys, I live by that today. It's the lowlights in life that create the highlight reel. Because if I wouldn't have gone through those lowlights, whether it's at football, whether it's in financial services, whether it's in life, whether it's in, you know, it could be in a marriage or relationship, you're going to have lowlights. It's part of it. But man, it's what you do when you have those. You got to learn from. Nick Saban says it best: never waste a failure. Never waste a failure. Learn from your losses. And I've had some. We've had some. But man, I'm in a place now where, you know, again, I'm not where I want to be. Obviously, we're still blowing and going, but I'm in a place now where I have so much to give to the world. I feel like I'm constipated with leadership. I'm ready to let it out.
Let it rip.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You talked about, because you mentioned your fearless leader, you talked to him on the phone before, the energy or the air to somebody like that, does it compare to guys that were leaders in football? Like, did you have the same respect, of course, but was it like and I don't want to say intimidation, but you walk in a room and you felt them. Was it the same presence?
Absolutely. And some guys, I said that it factor,
Right.
just talking to our leader, we were just on FaceTime, and there's a level of respect there. I'm going to always, like, first of all, that person believed in me, believed in us, gave us opportunities, and did a damn good job of doing it. And stuff happens. And so, and you got to, you know, there's a movie I used to say, you got to take the crookeds with the straights. In life, you're going to have curveballs, you're going to have straight balls, you know, and you got to take both. And we've had to take that and move on. And in football, it's the same thing. I mean, listen, even to this day, Ray is not hitting anybody. If Ray walked in this room, you feel his presence.
Right.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
You could be on a call, you feel his presence.
Did anybody match that energy that he had walking in the room?
I think from a corporate America standpoint, yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Greg did.
Because when he walked in the room, people felt his presence. And the reality of it is we backed it up.
Yeah. The one thing, I think what resonates through those people who have it's accountability.
Yes.
And the Ray Lewis game face that goes on. those people who take their craft seriously, you know they mean business.
That's
period.
right. That's
They'll
right.
love you afterwards. They'll celebrate and hang out with you. But it's that, again, the attitude walking in, knowing they're ready.
Yeah.
So you better match their level.
That's
and
right.
meet their expectations, and you're going to be held accountable.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Was it almost scary?
I'll say this: the only time that I would say was really scary, but it was good scary. I was in the Bahamas, and with my family for years. That was our family trip. 4th of July. If you wanted to find Team Robertson, we were in the Bahamas, and we were eating dinner. I got my check. I'm about to sign, and I look up. I said, "That's Michael Jordan." I look at my wife. I said, "That is freaking Michael Jordan."
Right.
And guys, when I tell you the room changed by that guy walking in, his presence, that was a scary, because I've never seen it like that.
And inexplainable.
Inexplainable because you have a guy where he sits down and then, so I told the waiter, I said, "Hey, I'm not going to leave right now. I'm going to stay."
Yeah.
And he sits right here and I could literally touch him on the shoulder, but he's with his wife. He has his, and I wanted to respect that. So my son, who was young, I forget Bryson's age at the time, he says he has to go to the bathroom. All these kids are trying to rush the table, people taking pictures, and they're like, he has security like trying to stop. It was just chaos, right? Bryson goes to the bathroom. He's sitting here, bypasses the table. He walks right past me and his mother. "Hey, Mr. Jordan, I'm Bryson Robertson." My son was like, "Through hell, how I'm going to meet Michael Jordan,"
Right.
And he did it. And it was
awesome.
pretty funny. So that was a surreal moment. But those guys. Listen, when I think about leaders and leadership, I just think that at the end of the day, we all have a responsibility. I feel like I'm a leader. I feel like you're a leader. We all have a certain responsibility. And leadership to me is the most prominent when things are tough. It's easy to be a leader when things are good. It's when things aren't so good, how are you going to show up now?
Right.
There's been times, and I tell my family, my kids, like, "Hey, I don't care what you're going through. Just come home." And that's one of the big reasons why when I say you got a guy like Ray and I've aligned with his purpose and what he's trying to do is because there's a lot of people out here suffering in silence. There's a lot of people that have these silent cries and they're crying out for help. Man, you talked about that this morning.
Yep.
And, I really believe that like in my household, if I can just come home. And if I'm talking to someone, just go, understand that there is a safe zone for you. And if you get in that safe zone, you can put your arms around someone and just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. It's bad. What you're going through, it's tough. But if you can just learn from what you're going through." And the great Les Brown once said, "Hey, if you get knocked down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up." Get up. Get up again. And at the end of the day, I always say other people's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. I don't care what you say about me. You know how much, man, do you know how many people have talked crap about Rob Robertson? I was called when I was growing up and I left it, people called me burnt bacon. They said God kept me in the oven too long. Man, those I laugh at it now. It's funny.
So
but I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And then when I go back to Louisiana, you talk different. Oh, you're not like one.
Oh,
what are you talking about?
Now you're too white.
Yeah, I'm too white. Like, are you kidding me? Like it was like I remember like it was yesterday. I earned this award in high school, academic all-state. The first time that had ever been happened at my. And the principal called a student body, brought everybody in to give me that award. That was the worst thing. I thought it was like, cool. Man, after that, I remember walking back to class and saying, "Man, F Rob Robertson." And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because he says, we need to have more people like he should have said, like, oh my
no.
God. And so it's little things that you go through. And then you have some people in your circle, or what you would think is in your circle. And it could be family. I tell people all the time there's a lot of I told you so folks out there that's wanting to see you.
And they want to see you fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they want to say, oh, I told you so. He thinks
Absolutely.
he's the, oh, I told you so.
Absolutely.
And that's when you have to, like, listen, the best revenge, just be successful.
Right.
Yep.
Don't say a word.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I'm telling you. Johnny Drinks, like, you guys keep doing, you guys keep doing what you're doing. Be successful and make people like it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
Have
man.
fun with
Yeah.
it. And that's what I've been doing. This book has put me in places and spaces that, guys, I never thought I'd be in just by being obedient.
What made you want to write the book?
Listen to that voice first.
Right.
And I wanted to help others. But I didn't really know what I know now. That, my story, listen, first of all, let me say this. Everyone has a story. Rondi has a story. You have a story. We all have stories. And so when you think about your story, how can it be a benefit to others? I also recognize, like, I'll tell you, the book it came out on my birthday, and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I should wait. And I had a lot of anxiety because there's a lot of stories, and my story is in that book, and it tells the world who I am, how I was raised, where I'm from. Some people may feel embarrassed. Some people might say, well, you can't get in this room because you didn't grow up like us. And I'm like, again, what God has for me, nobody can take that. It's done, right? So those people that try to block you, I've learned, like, hey, I don't worry about that anymore. Because if it's meant to be, it's going to be anyway. And so the fear was the disruption. I didn't want it to disrupt my kids because I may be in a place where I am maturity-wise that they may not be in. And I didn't want them to have to go through a disruption of people saying this, that, or the other. But, I just say, thank God it's been very well received. At the end of the day, I'm not here to tout myself. I'm not here to try to impress anybody. I'm just trying to impress upon people that, hey, listen, you will go through some stuff. That there are seasons in life. I call it, you're cultivating. You have to cultivate soil, right? If you want to plant something, then you plant seeds. We did that when you're out and you're, trying to create relationships. Right. And I believe that is a big component of your harvest. You're going to cultivate. You're going to have a season of cultivation, seed of planting seeds. And you're going to have a seed of harvest, but then it rolls back around. Things happen, and you got to go back and do the same thing. And the key is not getting complacent, and the key is not the definition of insanity, doing the same thing. Sometimes you got to change it up. Right. And when you change it up and you realize that you have a gift that you can use and others can benefit of service, like, I think you guys are a service. I truly do. I think you're serving. There's people that listen to your podcast that need some hope. And they're looking at, these guys can have fun, but they can talk about great topics that can help people grow. Yeah,
that's the goal. We want to circle back to your wife. We don't want to forget about that. You want to share a story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
this will go at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
Just a quick shout out, because
quick shout out to my wife. Like, listen, and my kids, my family. I thank God every day, guys. Listen, because you hear people that say, hey, they when trying to get pregnant or trying to, and they don't happen. I don't take that for granted. I thank God for allowing me to be a husband and a father, because He didn't, trusted me, I should say. And I don't take that lightly. So, my wife, it's so funny. She had a internship at the Department of Energy in D.C. Now, if I rewind that, I met her back then. When you get signed, you had to fax everything. Back, I don't even know if we use fax machines now, but
some places still
do. We still have them? Yeah.
Interestingly,
because I had to go to my agent was working on her college campus. She was in grad school, and I pull up in the parking space and I see this. I said, "Oh my God!" And I had my guy with me. He's like, "The one on the right, not the one." I said, "I know which one." I said, "But I can't." Hey, Ron, I just can't run in front of a woman like, hey. And so I go into my agent's office. I said, "Hey, man," I said, "Look out the window." I said, "There's two girls that just walked out. The one on I said, "That one." I said, "Do you know who that is?" He said, "Yeah, I know who it is." And I said, "Can you you need to introduce. He said, man, you don't need to be worried about no women. You need to be worried about you going to camp. I said, I tell you what, when I get back in 3 weeks, if you don't introduce me to that girl, I'm getting me another agent. I was messing with him. I was like, man, like, I need you to introduce me to this girl. And so I get back. He says, Rob, I got good news, bad news. This is what he says. I tried to pour it on thick. I told her you're going to NFL, and she didn't want to hear it. But he says, but she works in a public place. I got the phone number. So I called her, guys.
No way.
Oh, yeah, I called her. I say, hey, I have actually ran into you a couple of weeks ago. I said, I just want to introduce myself. I said, I'm not a stalker, by the way. I said, we can meet at a public place. Was it corny? Was that corny?
There's no way anyone else. That is so great.
I did it. So she met me at Applebee's. We met at Applebee's.
Oh, there you go.
And I convinced her to go to the movies. She falls asleep in the movies, guys. Can you believe that? She falls asleep in the movies. So we just stayed friends. I go, she's like, she tells me to this day, she says, you were just on the rebound. You kept talking about your ex-girlfriend.
Oh.
And so, I go on to play football. And listen to this. So remember, I just told you guys, I flew my grandmother up for the Steelers game. That was our first game. So I'm like, if I can get her to the game, I said, I can woo her. I'll get her. She agreed to come to the Steelers game. We played them the next year. And then she says, on Thursday, she calls me up. She says, hey, I just thought about it. What's my sleeping arrangements? So your sleeping arrangements? She says, yeah, what hotel? I need to let my mom know what hotel I'm in. I'm like, I got a townhouse. I stay with Priest Homes. We got a big town. I'm not putting you up in a hotel. She says, well, I don't feel comfortable coming. I said, well, you may as well stay because I'm not putting you in a hotel. And back then, guys, you had to call the airlines. You don't have an app where you can cancel. I was so pissed. So I called my agent. I said, you remember that girl I said, can you believe she wanted me to put her up in a hotel? But man, that made me respect her more than anything else. And she was like, nope. And then I get injured. I told you, I'm in my second year, I get injured, and I had to stay in Baltimore for rehab. She has a internship at the Department of Energy. And she comes down, she calls me out of the blue. I don't talk to her for a while. She says, I'm just calling people who I know in the area I'm going to be working. And there's a lineman, guys, Jeff Blackshear, rest in peace, Blackshear. He was my offensive lineman. Jeff had just signed a big contract, and everybody knows Jeff liked to party. Jeff would rent a limo on Thursdays through Monday. I mean, he didn't drive. We would go to D.C., and so he says, he had a nickname for me. I'm not going to tell you guys. I'll tell you off air, but he says, we're going to D.C. You want to go? I said, yeah, I'm going. And I said, hey, there's this girl coming up. I need to pick them up. They're going to go with us to the club. So we picked them up in this long stretch limo. And we go to the nightclub. I give her some cash. I said, hey, you can go with your girl. And I was like, I'm not going to be sweating her. I'm going to let her do her thing. And I'm going to be over here in the VIP section. That's when Martin Lawrence, the comedian, was like the band. And we had a blast. And that night, she's like, hey, I want to come over there.
You finally got it.
So she came over there, hung out. Guys, we go back to get in the limo. Blackshear had left the club, and he's in the limo. He has like 10 women in the limo. And so we open the door, we go to get in. She's like, oh, no. She says, I'm not getting in that car. And I'm like, she said, you brought me here, and it was her and her girlfriend. She said, you brought me here a certain way, and I expect to go home the way I came.
Wow.
So she's outside the limo. I go in the, mind you, she doesn't know this, but this is Blackshear's limo, not mine, right? I say, hey, man, I'm negotiating. You got to get these girls out of here. I said, I got to get this girl home. And I told her that I was going to take her home the way I brought her. So please get these girls. Now,
there's no Uber. There's no Uber.
Wow.
There's no Uber.
There's no getting another
There's
ride.
no Uber. And then, mind you, this is his limo, right? I'm riding with him. So one by one, these girls start filing out of the car. They're getting out. And we get in. We take her to her house, to her apartment. And when she got out of the car, Jeff Blackshear looks at me. He says, Rob, that's the one.
Wow.
and we have spent every weekend together. And we've been married now for 23 years, 2 kids. And man, I love doing life with her. She pushes me, she motivates me. And that's just where we are. That's our story, man.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So I tell people out there, like, hey, at the end of the day, I had to go. Listen, I got out of my comfort zone. Hey, can you meet me? But she did meet me, and we have a lot of great memories together. A lot of great memories together.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next? What's next with Rob?
Man, right now I'm in this space and place where I work for a financial institution that I happen to really enjoy working for. Great organization. I head up strategy for this group, and this is more of a national type of opportunity. So people ask me, Rob, what do you do? I tell them I help make dreams come true. We help people buy the biggest single investment they're going to buy in most people in their lifetime, which is their home. I believe that's where foundational principles are made. That's where people can help raise their kids. As I said, just come home.
Right.
You come home, we can put our arms around each other and figure life out together. And so, but also with that, as I said, Arthur, in this book, I've done a lot more speaking engagements, motivational. So I just 3 weeks ago I was at the Novartis headquarters right here in East Hanover, and it was their teen summit, and myself, Tiki Barber, and Nate Burleson was on a panel, just talking to those kids, helping those kids, and just understand life. I shared my story. And what was amazing was there was a 14-year-old young man who said, he just lost his dad, and he asked me, like, how did you get past the hurt? And man, those are moments that really matter for me. And so I'm in this space and place where I want to go and leave people better than I find them. I want to be of service. I want to help. I want to grow, and also obviously my day job is what I do from the banking world, but. Any chance that I get, I want to be out in the community helping change lives. As I said, and this is Ray's commitment, is he wants to touch 1 billion minds. Well, to touch 1 billion minds, there's strength in numbers. We got to partner together.
Right.
I'm asking you guys, like, is there any chance we get, like, we can help and hear these, young people, young and old. I don't want to discount, adults either, but there's people out here that are looking for a light. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people just want to check out of here, man, and they're like, hey, I don't want to do it anymore. And so when you think about that, if you have an impact on someone that can make a difference, that can tell them, like, hey, in life, I look at this, guys, and I've just thought about this. I mean, I'm sitting here, this game of football that I love. We all love it, and we think about it. What's amazing about that game is that I played on offense. I played fullback. That's 11 guys in a huddle, right? The coach calls the play. The quarterback, he signals the play into the quarterback. Quarterback calls the play in the huddle. We break. We break the huddle, and it's our job to execute that play. Think about that, guys. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking. So in life, you have your family. I'm sure, John, you gave the play to your family, and your job as a family go execute it. What is that execution? That could be going to school, get good grades.
Yep.
That could be jobs. That could be, whatever, running an errand, whatever it is. But the job is, just like in football, what's the job on offense? You want to get first downs. You got 10 yards to get a first down, with the goal is to keep moving the ball. Mm-hmm. And if you keep moving the ball, ultimately you'll score a touchdown. So that's just like life. So you ask me, I'm not sitting there, man, I want to keep moving the ball. I want to keep getting first downs. Now, there's this referee that sometimes throws a yellow flag. What could that be? That could be, hey, I didn't get the promotion. Right. Or I didn't get the girl that I wanted. Mm-hmm. Or, something happened. Mm-hmm. My tire's on flat. Or guess what? I was counting on my son, or I was counting on my wife, or and I didn't do my job. Mm-hmm. I blew the assignment, or I was holding. I got mad at the car that got cut off in front, and I cussed their ass out. And guess what? That was a personal foul. I got to go back 15 yards.
Right.
That is life. That's life, guys. And sometimes we're going to go back. Sometimes we may have to start over. Sometimes your teammate, your family member, or whoever you're working with may not do his or her job. But the goal is to keep moving the ball. And if we just can remember to keep moving the ball in life, the goal is to keep getting first downs in life. Ultimately, you want to score a touchdown. And what does those touchdowns look like? Those touchdowns are coming off here to Johnny Drinks, man. Those touchdowns are seeing my buddy, man, like and knowing those touchdowns are, you know, your kid getting married. I can't wait to walk my daughter, you know. I mean, I told you, man, I get emotional. I can't wait to walk her down the aisle, and I pray for her husband or whoever that kid is. I pray that she has my grandkid. I pray for my son, and those are touchdowns. But you know what? Just like in football, you may not always score a touchdown. And sometimes you got to kick that extra point.
Right.
And that field goal does matter. Get the 3 points. See, everybody wants to knock it out of the park. I need to have 1 million followers. Right. I need to do this. Get the small wins. Right. Take the small wins, because just like last night, if you guys watched Monday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken, I fell asleep, but the score was 10-7. That field goal mattered.
It mattered.
They didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah.
That field goal won the game, right?
Absolutely. Well, Rob, thank you so much. This has been incredible. I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything about your life. We do ask the guest one question. Highest highs, lowest lows in your life. What has been the lowest of your low, and what has been the highest of your high?
Is that one question or two?
It's a 1 and 1A question.
See, you see?
No, I'm
did
just
he
curious.
execute the
Huh?
play? Man, wow. That's a great question. I'd say, lowest or low?
I feel like I can answer it for you, but you
can go first.
No,
It's not your question?
No, it's not my question. It's the things that he shared already.
The lowest of low would probably be when I got cut from the Ravens, and they went to the Super Bowl. Like, I remember specifically we playing the Tennessee Titans, and when Ray Lewis hit Eddie George and the camera happened to zoom into Eddie George, you guys may remember that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's over. I said, this is over. And I could not watch football. I couldn't watch it. And my teammates would call me every time we would win a game. The owner would leave a gift in the room, and they kept calling me saying, hey, Art Modell just left me. I said, man, I can't.
Right.
And I can't stomach. I just couldn't.
Right.
And then when I say we, because I feel like I was a part of that team, when we were in Tampa for that game, I hate to say it, we played your Giants. And when Ray Lewis did his first dance, I said, it's over. That game was over before it started.
Yeah.
That was the lowest of the low, because, man, I had people tease me. I had people who I thought were my friend. I had to go get a job, and they were like, Rob played in the NFL. He's already getting a job. There was some people who you thought were going to be there in your corner that weren't there. You find out who people are in the midst of adversity. That's what I had to find out. And my highest of high was recently. Man, gosh. And I'm kind of upset with myself because I didn't even, I don't know how, Rondi, don't throw a dart at me, man. I don't know how you didn't get an invite to this, but my wife invited, she had family, because I truly consider you a close friend, man.
Thank you.
I do.
Same, likewise.
And everybody's there, and they ask, saying happy birthday, and you think about your journey. You don't want to talk too long because it's a party, but then you want to talk just enough to give everyone their flowers. And I think about my village, and my corporate village was Rondi. I think about my village of people who helped along the way, my kids, me. But guys, my daughter, she grabbed the mic and she wanted to share and totally blew me away. I didn't even know she was going to do that. You know, again, I grew up in Louisiana. I didn't have the means to have the exposure. Well, my wife wanted, you know, she wanted to get our kids tested. We got my daughter tested. She was diagnosed with ADHD and dementia. And not dementia. I'm sorry, I totally blew that. ADHD and dyslexia, not dementia. She
I was gonna say, a
not
little
gonna
young.
work. Not gonna work. She's not. But ADHD and dyslexia, and man, that was tough for me. You know, I remember when my wife, they told him like, "That's bullshit. That's not the case." Can I say bullshit on this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's not the case, and I remember we having to go to we wanted her to go to a certain school, and they said, hey, she probably needs to go to this feeder school to prepare her with strategies to get her ready to come to this school. And she talked about that. And guys, when I Googled the school that they wanted to go to, you know, you read it and it says, hey, this school is for kids who have learning differences and disabilities. And those words, you know, I'm like, hell no. And I realized that words create the world. Thoughts become things. And my thoughts, I'm thinking like, because it almost like, you know, listen, I don't know about you guys. When I was growing up, you got teased if you were on a sharp bus. If they say, yo, you're on a sharp bus, and I'm like, my daughter has to go to this school? Best thing that could have happened to her. And my daughter went to that school, and she learned the strategies that has helped her get into a college preparatory high school now. She's getting ready, already has gotten an offer for one college. She's getting straight A's.
Beautiful.
And to hear her say to me the words that she said was a high. And then my son grabs the mic and says, well, hell, how can I come after that, right? And to hear both of my kids say to me, you know, the things that they had to say, and I'm very proud of them both. And my wife is eloquent where she's like, I don't have to say, my kid said it all. That just happened. That was a high for me. I'm still on that high.
That's great.
And so I'll just say this, you know, that's just me with my immediate family. When I speak to kids in general, and I have a kid reach out to me, and I'm available. I'm not a guy that's going to hide behind my phone. I think that's hypocritical. That's just my personal opinion to tell somebody, hey, call me, and then you're not available for them. So I tell people you can reach me on IG. I'm on LinkedIn. And when people reach out, I respond back, because that person is having that hope that you just told them, like, hey, you can call me. And then they call you and you don't reach back.
Right.
And so that's my highest of high, is when I know that I've affected someone's life in a positive way.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Persevering through purpose.
Yes, sir.
Grab the book out today. That's it. Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff.
And it's on
Cheers.
Amazon.
And on Amazon. We'll put the link in the description.
Okay.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.